in for a special treat because we have a presentation titled All About Scholarships from the Featherstone Foundation. So before I introduce, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker and then turn it over to her to give us all the great information that she has today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and then we will get to them as we go along. So I'll start off with Miss Linnea C. Featherstone. She's the CEO of the William and Linnea C. Featherstone Foundation. She's an award-winning leading nonprofit executive with more than a decade of international and management experience. She's been a featured panelist for the U.S. News and World Report on topics related to the Latino community. And under her leadership, the Featherstone Foundation has received numerous statewide honors, including a governor's citation for improving economic outcomes for immigrant communities, a Nonprofit of the Year award by the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and many more. In 2008, she started her organization alongside her husband, William. She works to fulfill the organization's mission to bridge the opportunity divide among immigrants and underserved communities. In 2013, Linnea received a prestigious Open Society Institute Baltimore Community Fellowship, where she created a Spanish language digital literacy initiative that helped Latino immigrants' parents secure better paying jobs and help their children academically. Ms. Featherstone holds a master's degree in Spanish and Latin American Studies from the American University in Washington, D.C., and a bachelor's degree in journalism from the Louisiana State University. She holds a PMP certificate in project management, which is recognized all over the world as the gold standard and is the most important industry recognized certification for project managers. And lastly, I'll end on the note that most importantly, she is the mother of 2 special little girls. So Ms. Featherstone is the CEO of the Featherstone Foundation, which also offers a wide range of scholarships to our Baltimore City students. So you're in for a treat in hearing how you can qualify for some of these scholarship opportunities. So I'll pass it over to you, Ms. Featherstone.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. I wanted to say that the song that you played was so exciting because, today has been a busy day, but to hear, I'm so happy. And to be here with all of you makes me really excited for this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I think I did mention in the intro that I'm a mom, so I'm doing digital school from home too. And I understand some of the challenges, but also some of the opportunities of digital school now. So if you can see my screen, if somebody could just give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate that. Great, we're good to go. So first, before I talk about the scholarships, I do just want to talk about a little bit about my background and how I got here. So I was born in Baltimore. Received my bachelor's degree from Louisiana State University in journalism. I grew up in the South. After I was born in Baltimore, we relocated to Mobile, Alabama. But what's really cool is I had a passion to just want to see the world and the world outside of Baltimore and outside of Mobile, Alabama, and kept having a pressing desire to see the world. And my parents kept telling me no, right? So every time I would want to travel internationally, they would say, you can't go. And so I tried to figure out why would I need my parents to even tell me that I could go, right? But they were my financial support and also my mentors. But eventually they did say yes. And what it has led to is me traveling to multiple countries, about 17 or so, and some of those countries multiple times. In 2017, I was in Dubai, but I've been everywhere from Guatemala to Venezuela to El Salvador to Ecuador, to Peru to Bolivia. And seeing the world is just a beautiful thing. So I would just inspire everyone or encourage everyone to think about that as you're on your academic and professional journey. So I will move on to scholarships, and that's what you're all interested in hearing. But our organization is to create equitable opportunities for communities, and that's what we do. We've been around since 2008, so for 13 or so years. And what I've found is the people who've gone through the Featherstone Foundation's programs are from Baltimore City. We serve Black and Brown communities in Baltimore City, across the state, but we've also worked with participants and families from over 29 countries who speak more than 40 languages. Some of the countries that we've served, everywhere from Nigeria to Honduras to Uganda, Puerto Rico, and Colombia. The communities that we serve typically are underrepresented and underrepresented in higher education, which is why the work that we do is so important. If you see our map a little bigger, these are the countries that stand out most, although we've represented people from various locations. I'm pointing this out because for us, scholarship, it doesn't matter where you're from, your country of origin. This is all about making sure that you fit the criteria. Okay, so let's talk about the Featherstone Foundation Scholarship Fund. So this year we have a $55,000 scholarship fund, and we're going to award 24 students scholarships. I'm going to talk through the application process and what schools we're partnering with for this information. But one key thing that you want to note right away is that the deadline is March 5th. March 5th at midnight is when applications are due. We encourage students to start their applications early. You can save your application and come back to it, but you don't want to be the student that has the tech glitch in the middle of the night and then you're trying to ask for support. So this is the breakdown of scholarships that we're offering this year. The Featherstone College Scholarship is solely earmarked for the University of Baltimore. We will provide 10 students awards of $2,000 each to attend the University of Baltimore. And I'll get into the criteria a little later. Then we have two different Featherstone HBCU scholarships. One is at Morgan State University and the other one is at Coppin State University. So between the two schools, one school at Morgan is 8 scholarships for $2,000 each. And at Coppin, it's 4 awards for $3,000 each. And then the Uodiacy Parker Scholarship Award, this actually carries the namesake of my aunt, Uodiacy Parker. I'm Featherstone by married name. Anyway, she was a teacher for 30 years at Dunbar High School and some other schools in Baltimore City. And so this scholarship carries her namesake. And students can choose the university of their choice in the United States, right? So we don't tell you which school you have to go to. If you win the award, you tell us where you want to go and we'll make the money happen. So we will provide 2 students $3,000 through that scholarship. It's important to know that students can apply to multiple awards that the Featherstone Foundation runs. If you win an award, you'll only be able to win that award, which is fine. But if you want to apply multiple times to multiple programs that we run, that's fine too. So let's talk about the Uodiacy Parker Scholarship Program. This is the one where we're awarding 2 scholarships of $3,000 each. This is for high school students. So if you're a high school student, this is the perfect award for you. We're actually earmarking one of the 2 awards for a Dunbar High School student. So of the 2 awards, 1 student from Dunbar will win the award. What you want to know is that you have to be a Baltimore City resident or enrolled in a Baltimore City public school. 3.0 is the GPA for all of our scholarship awards. So you want to make sure that you have a 3.0 award. And again, this is the scholarship that can be used for any US institution. So for example, the last couple of winners, 1 student is now at Cornell. She went to Poly. We have 1 student at Morgan, 1 student at the University of Maryland in College Park. And so you can choose where you want to go if you win. Then we have the Featherstone College Scholarships at the University of Baltimore. Now, this one does not have a geographic location. You don't have to be a Baltimore City resident to apply for this award. You can also still be a high school senior to apply. And you know, UB, we have a great relationship with the University of Baltimore. We've been doing this scholarship for about 5 years or so with UB. I think what's great is the variety of students from different backgrounds, from different majors, from different interests who apply to this award. We had a very global class last year, including lots of students who were Baltimore City residents. Again, we'll provide 10 awards, $2,000 each, and you'll want to have a GPA of 3.0. Okay, so now we're getting to the Featherstone HBCU scholarships that we have. So at Morgan State University, and again, all of this is on our website. The URLs are on these flyers. So the HBCU scholarship program, we will award 8 students $2,000 each. Again, for this program, you can be a high school senior. It is required for this program that you are a Baltimore City resident. So you'll just want to make sure that you have the right residency status before you apply. You know, the programs that we offer with Morgan State, you can be a high school student, or this is also eligible for current Morgan State students. So if you have friends that go to Morgan, they are also eligible, or transfer students. It's also open to all majors. So if you decide you want to be in engineering, it's cool. If you want to be in arts and sciences, that's great too. This is an opportunity for students, and we felt like it was really strategic to make an investment in HBCUs and to make sure that our students have access to the opportunities that Morgan State offers. A new scholarship award that we're running this year is for Coppin State University. Unfortunately, this one isn't yet for high school students, but I'm going to check with the administration to see if there's a way that we can, you know, make an opportunity at Coppin for high school students. The way the awards are set up this year is that it's for, and actually it might be eligible for high school students, but it's each college of the school will receive a $3,000 award. And so that's how it's currently set up. But let me get back to your school directors to provide information about this award as well. So what are the takeaways here? Again, our goal is to create academic equity in higher education for underrepresented students, and you can define that however you feel fit. But underrepresented in higher education, there are so many different reasons why certain communities don't have equal access to opportunity. We encourage you to either apply or share the information that we are offering. Again, the deadline is March 5th. What you'll see here for this website, Featherstone Foundation /college, that's the list of all of the scholarship awards that I announced today, right? So if you go to featherstonefoundation.org /college, you'll see the list of all the scholarships that I offered. Each one has its own application and its own program page that explains the criteria, what's required. In terms of the application, I'll give you a sneak sort of information. We ask for biographical information, so it helps us get to know you. And then we want you to answer 3 short essays. And again, these essays are short. If you're applying for our HBCU programs, we want to know, why did you choose to go to an HBCU? If the pandemic has had an impact on your career or your professional or academic development, we want to know about, you know, the racial injustice movement and how that or the pandemic has had an impact and how it's impacted or affected you in any way. And then just, why is the scholarship important? Like why is this program or opportunity important to you or your family? And so those are the 3 essays. If you have any leadership experience, then we'd want you to also indicate that on the application as well. We have optional sections of the application where you can upload your resume if you have one, or if there's something really special that you want to share with the selection committee, you can do that there on the application. Those are optional, they're not required. I always tell candidates that when you see optional, it's a good opportunity to do so. But if you don't have those materials, then you do not have to, and you will not be ineligible. The other quick things that I want to share with you just before questions is that we also have a Featherstone corporate internship program. Now, this is for current college students, but again, this is something that you want to think about the Featherstone Foundation, because once you're in our network, we work to support you. So Cecia Calero, for example, who's at the University of Baltimore, has won the Featherstone College Scholarship 4 times, right? And now she has an internship grant or whatever. She's won our internship program. And so we are paying the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs to host Cecia as an intern. So she gets a paid internship. So again, our goal is to support students 100% from your academics to your professional development. So we also have students placed at Maryland Public Television and Southeast CDC and other organizations. And that's what I was mentioning. They get paid $13 an hour, 15 weeks, $16-hour work weeks. And then we also run a speaker series where we talk to students about everything from credit to tackling imposter syndrome, and then also really understanding entrepreneurship, which is so important these days, because it really is the wave of the future. So I think the only thing that I wanted to share with you is just our contact information before I stop screen sharing. You can reach me directly for any questions that you have at Lanea, and that's LANAEA at thefeatherstonefoundation.org. Also, Alexis Young, who works with us, who's our program officer for career and college readiness, her email is hello@thefeatherstonefoundation.org. And she would also be equally as happy to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I would love to just be here to answer any questions about the opportunities that we are providing through the Featherstone Foundation and what ways we might be able to be helpful to you on your college application or scholarship search.
So now's a good chance to jump in now if you have any questions about any of the criteria or any of the scholarships that we just went over just now. And I see even more names. Hi, Artez. Hi, Alize. Hi, quite a few people. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now. You can jump in the chat or come off mute.
So I have one question in the chat. Residency requirements for the internship program. So as of right now, the residency is Baltimore City. This year we started it as a pilot program in reaction to the COVID pandemic because we were tired of students saying that they needed these opportunities. So we created it, but our goal is to expand it so that there isn't a residency. If you have a GPA, if you don't have a 3.0 GPA, but it's close, sadly, you wouldn't qualify for these scholarships. I always encourage students, whether it's through the Featherstone Foundation or another organization, is to really take the time to just look at the application criteria, because you don't want to spend time on this or any other scholarship if you don't meet the minimum criteria. What I would say is that the Featherstone Foundation has other opportunities that we could help you with outside of the scholarship program. And we're doing some certification training for students to help students get careers in some other industries. So please do chat with us offline and we can help. Plans to expand to the county. So yeah, we have programs for the county. Only certain awards have Baltimore City requirements. So when you look at the list, you want to just make sure, oh, does this one require that I'm in Baltimore City or not? So UB, you don't have to be in Baltimore City to apply. For the Coppin one, you don't have to be. So they all have different slight requirements. So you just want to look at that and just take that into consideration. If you're going, what are ongoing opportunities to fund college costs for 2 to 4 year colleges? So I think if Adenika, can you explain your question to me, please?
Hi, good afternoon, actually. So I was just thinking that because the scholarships that that you were speaking about, is that just for the first year, or can students continue to reapply? Because when we think about like just the ongoing costs of college, just like when you're planning to attend a 4-year college, making sure that after that first year that you still have funding streams for year 2, 3, and 4. So just wondering, can students reapply as how often can students reapply for the whole?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that question. Yeah, so we're in the business of supporting students. So you can apply to our scholarships every single year, like CESIA, right? So we encourage our past award winners to always reapply for our scholarships. So we have had cases where students get the same award every year in a row, and that's fine with us. It is a competitive application process, so students would have to apply every year. But that's absolutely through the Featherstone Foundation is way possible. And we have a track record for doing that because again, our goal is to see students succeed. So we don't ever want students to feel like they started this 4-year journey and then they can't make it through. Our student GPAs, weighted or unweighted, if you have a 3.0 GPA, I think you're good enough to submit an application. We have a selection committee that looks at all of the applications for each college. So each selection committee is tailored to that award. We work closely with the academic, the bursar's office and the academic advisors admissions office of each school. So I think if you have a 3.0 GPA, it's fine. I would encourage you to submit an application. How would you recommend? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we had a question that was sent privately. They asked, what do you think is the most difficult part of the application?
Well, I would say the most difficult part of the application to me is just planning. Again, I think because we're all swamped, and I do mean all of us are swamped, taking time out to carve to say, this is what I'm going to work on today, and to save the progress, I think is the most difficult part of the application. I frankly, this is our 5th year running scholarship programs, and I think our scholarship application is relatively easy, and I say easy in air quotes, right? I would say that in terms of producing an application, you do just want to make sure that you do a spell check, right? That you capitalize the first, and I'm one of the judges, right? So I've read a lot of student applications, but it's also the most exciting part of my job. That you capitalize the first letter of every sentence, just regular grammar. So I think the most difficult part of the application is planning to do the application and submitting it on time. I think it's also in the planning process is gathering the materials that you need to submit an application. So because you all are on the Zoom, I've already told you everything, right? I could actually show you an application if you'd like me to. But it's, if you're going to attach your resume and the supplementary materials, you want to have it on the screen on your computer so that you can just easily attach. I think in terms of planning process, I always like to, if I'm going to apply for something, I like to skim the application first, start it in a Word document, and then copy and paste it when I'm ready to submit it, is what I like to do. So I think the most difficult part of anything is planning. And I think also planning avoids the stress of the deadline rolling by and you miss it, or you submit it like an hour before midnight and you didn't do a good of a job as you wanted to do, right? But the application is really, it's easy. It's the 3 questions. We want to know about you, your GPA. We do ask for SAT and ACT, but it's optional. That part is, it's not a required section of the form. If you've taken the test, you should put your scores there. If you haven't taken the test, then it gives you an option to not have to put anything, but you want to be as transparent as possible.
And while we're on that, Ms. Featherstone, a lot of kids are worried about test optional policies and how does it actually affect me. So if students aren't submitting their testing materials, are other components of their applications being weighed more than others? I know that's a question that comes up often.
Oh yeah, so what you'll find in our selection criteria is we really do look at the student in totality, right? So our grading grid, yes, has GPA. Financial need is a huge component, right? If our point is to help students in underrepresented communities, those who are in need. So we're looking at different criteria. No, if you didn't take the SAT and ACT, it doesn't negatively affect you, especially as colleges in general are trying to decide if these tests are how they're going to go about the testing process. So that's not going to affect you negatively.
Got it.
But if you have taken the test, you should put it on there. I mean, there's no reason to not put it on there.
And one of my favorite questions that's come up in the chat, as a former ESOL teacher, and you've been around the world working with students from, it looks like a lot of Central American countries too. The question is, how would you recommend students who are still working on citizenship on gaining scholarships? So it speaks to our undocumented student population and how the Featherstone Foundation supports them.
Yeah, so first what I would say is we would be happy to have a private offline conversation with anybody about their specific circumstances. But with that said, through our scholarships, what happens is the students apply directly to the schools. So once you're accepted, regardless of your status, you're eligible for our scholarship awards. So we've had DACA students, like so many different statuses under the sun have received our awards. And if you saw our last class, it was people from like Belarus and just different countries, Mexico. And so anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is we are happy to work with you on that, but we haven't had any issues or our students haven't encountered any untraditional challenges, right, to that issue. That was a very vague answer, but I think I could work with you more one-on-one about that. But I think we found a great way, and through our partnerships where our students, you apply to the school and then you're eligible for our scholarship program.
Love it. Thank you. We have a lot of thank yous in the chat.
Yeah, of course.
If there are any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And like Ms. Featherstone said, if you have any specific questions about your circumstance, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to talk with you offline or, maybe exchange email communication. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat at this time.
Hi, I have a question. I have several students on the call today, and I think two of their biggest points of anxiety are, number one, the word count. What's the sort of word limit on the essays for your scholarship? And then the second question is, they often feel like they don't know what to write about to make themselves stand out. So I try to encourage them that each of them have a unique story, but if you can just say a bit more about that to kind of encourage our students.
Yes, I'm going to try to. And how much time is this meeting run until, Ms. Tucker?
We have about 10 more minutes, so we have some time.
Should I show an application or is that?
Yeah. Great.
And then I think that would dovetail to your question about the essay. So here's just the program page. Again, we're getting a new website, yay. I think it's going to launch. We're trying to decide if we launch it before the application deadline of the scholarships or after, so we don't confuse students. So I will click on just, let's say, the University of Baltimore application. Personal information, again, how do you identify? Where do you live? Your status. Again, the race questions, all of that is optional. We do want to know your income, household, number of people that live in your house. And then we're going to get to the application questions in a second. This is where we talk about your GPA, what school are you from, and what major are you planning on? If you don't know, that's fine. You can just click this, I have not elected a major. We also want to know, are you a high school student, right? Or are you, if you're applying to the University of Baltimore scholarship, are you currently at that school? Are you a first generation student? Yes or no? And this is the section about your scores. Those are all optional. If you have any awards or accomplishments, here in this section, some people have just done bulleted lists, right? Captain of the cheerleading team, if I could spell it right, and then they would also, some people do paragraphs and essays. Either is fine here for your activities. I find bullets are clearer to read, really easy when you're doing these types of things. And here we have the short essays. And again, this is the essays for the University of Baltimore application. If you're going to an HBCU, the third question is going to be a little different. But your career goals and aspirations, this is 250 to 500 words. So these are very short essays. Why would the scholarship benefit you? And then this is the question about the pandemic. You know, did the pandemic or the current social justice movements have any impact on your personal, academic, or professional progression? The supplementary materials, again, these aren't required, so you don't have to attach them. If you have them, great. And then how did you find out about the program? I think that when I ask students about their essays, it's sort of, what are the things that are what are you most passionate about? You know, what is driving you to be motivated to go to college? What is it that, like, why would this award be important to you, either financially or for your family? What does it mean? Those are the types of questions and answers that I like to ask people. We've heard from a lot of our international students about just the journey and what it takes to have to learn in a different language, and or parents that don't speak English as a first language. We've heard from other students that they want to get out of the environments that they're in, and this is why they want to go to college. So it just really ranges. I think the essays for us more provide insight into you as a person. I mean, when I write things, I always talk about, you know, I always get the question, like, you're Black and you travel the world and then you got a master's in Spanish, why, right? So I just like, what are the things that, you know, are of interest and what makes you you? We would love to know about that. And I think it's great to write about things that are, that you care about, and it makes it easier for you to write an essay, right? And it's not as laborious as these things can be.
Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Of course.
Any
Yeah.
other questions? No other questions? This is really great, Ms. Featherstone.
Of
So
course.
amazing.
Of course.
We had you on sooner. So we can go ahead and close out if there are no other questions. Is that right? Final call. I think we've asked you everything we could possibly ask you for the last like 45 minutes or so. But would you mind dropping your email in the chat for students who might have any questions? I know you put it up in the presentation, but this was amazing. Yes.
Yes, I really appreciate this.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and make this information available. This replay will be available on our City School CCR playlist. So if you're, you know, any friends couldn't join us today and they need this information, because who doesn't need a scholarship, especially in these days and times, please direct them to our CCR playlist, and Ms. Featherstone and our entire CCR team will be available to support you. So thanks for joining us today, guys, for yet another Lab Wednesday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.